Hey, what's up everybody, how's it going? It's Burke, aka Dansg08 here, and it's time for us to have a little bit of a hangout because there's a few things I need to talk about, and without much further ado, I'll get into it. I'll start with Final Fantasy XII. Final Fantasy XII has been a really good series for the channel. It's been a very long time since I managed to get these kind of views for a normal walkthrough series, so I've been very happy with how it's gone. Thank you to everyone who's been watching so far. I know because it's a first playthrough that there's a lot of issues. It took me a while to get to grips with the game, and even now there's obviously stuff that I'm still not great at, but just in general people have been helpful. I have had a lot of people that have been less than helpful as well. I mean, for some reason this playthrough has brought out the more toxic side of the Final Fantasy community, which is something I've not really seen at all in any of my playthroughs. I mean, even like blind playthroughs like Final Fantasy IX, I didn't seem to find these people. But there's a lot of people that just get really like needlessly obsessed and butthurt over Final Fantasy XII for some reason. They get triggered like way too easily, and those guys have kind of been weeded out over time. Either they've given up watching or I've just banned them because they've started to get really annoying. But now I've kind of left with more of a kind of sensible group of people who either just kind of offer advice, offer constructive criticism, or just don't say anything and just watch the episodes, because after a while that stuff just really gets tiring. Just there's the kind of people that comment on every single episode, and sometimes people just get, you know, they get offensive, they get like needlessly rude, and it's just like, no one needs to be putting up with that. I don't wish that on anyone, not myself, not any other YouTuber. No one deserves that kind of thing. So yeah, in general I've been really happy with Final Fantasy XII. I've been really enjoying the game despite it taking me a while to get used to it. As you guys all know, I love a challenge. The difficulty spike in learning like the mechanics and how it all works with the gambit system, and you know, the license boards and the espers and everything you have to figure out, I've really enjoyed that side of things. So even though now that I'm nearing like the end of the game, you guys, there's probably about maybe 10-15 episodes that you guys haven't seen yet, I have felt that it has been too easy, which has been annoying because I kind of got tricked by everyone. Like in the first 5 or 10 episodes, everyone was telling me, oh my god, this game is really difficult, there's serious difficulty spikes, you need to make sure you grind, you can't go too quickly, blah 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 blah. And obviously this is the thing, I always say that reading comments on a blind playthrough is not something I like to do, but especially in the earlier episodes, I tried to take people's advice on board because I thought I don't really know this game very well, so the more advice I get from people moving forward, the better it will be for me. But I mean, even then it kind of worked against me because I built up this whole notion of the game being really difficult, and obviously apparently the original version was very difficult, but the way that the game has been remastered, it's been made a lot more accessible for new players. So I had this whole thing in my head that this is a really big challenging game. I was really looking forward to the challenge. Everyone's telling me it's going to be a big challenge, you're going to die multiple times, there's going to be places where you're going to get stuck, you're going to hit brick walls, etc. And well, I think I'm over 50 hours in now, and I've literally got 0 game overs aside from like an optional boss, which is, well, it's totally optional, so that doesn't really count. I was expecting like storyline, you know, legit difficult stuff happening, and it didn't really happen, so I ended up being disappointed by that. And obviously the people that were commenting that the game's really difficult, they're people that haven't played the Zodiac Age, so they didn't realise the extent to which the game had been kind of rebalanced for new players. So I kind of lost out as a result, because I built the game up in my head as being like this really big challenge, and then it turned out to not really be much of a challenge at all. So that's been a little bit annoying. But that's why, I mean, that's the negative side of reading the comments. Maybe if I didn't read those comments and I had a more neutral expectation about the difficulty, it wouldn't be something that I'd be mentioning right now. I'd be feeling like, yeah, this is sufficiently difficult. But when people are telling you that the game's really difficult and you have that image of the game, then when you start realizing that you're getting through it a lot more easily than you should be, then you start to put that as a negative towards the game. So that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. I always mention this stuff when I'm starting a new series for the first time, that I prefer not to read comments. And I think I'll probably head back to that whenever I'm doing a new playthrough, because again, when I see everything as a whole, I feel like it works. It has more negatives than positives for me as the person actually playing the game. So I think when I do a new playlist like Final Fantasy, maybe Final Fantasy VIII, even Final Fantasy XIII too, I've only played it once, so I don't know the game very well. But I think I'll probably stay away from the comments until I finish the game, because like I said, it has more negatives than positives for me. So with that being said, what I'm going to do from here on is complete Final Fantasy XII. That's going to be priority number 1, because the game is very long. I will keep going and get to the end of the game, and we'll see how things are going. I've been enjoying the game enough that I feel like I want to do some hunts and that kind of thing. So I might continue with the hunts. At least the hunts and the optional espers I feel like are worth doing. But how much is that going to extend the playthrough? I mean, is that going to take me another couple of months to finish all that stuff with the time that I have to record? I don't know. We'll have to see, because for me, I'm always weighing up my options. It's like, do you get involved with the side quest, or you could pump out 2 non-Final Fantasy playlists in that time. Which one is worth doing? Which one is going to be better for you, better for the channel, that kind of thing. So I always have to consider my options. But for now, it's looking likely that I'll continue with the side quests in the game. And I think once I get to the end of the playlist, then we'll see how things go from there. But I still have maybe 20-30 episodes left to upload for the playlist, maybe even more, I don't know. So let's just get that done first, and then we'll see what happens. Once Final Fantasy XII is done, what I'll do next is this Uncharted half DLC, half game thing that they're bringing out with, I think it's coming out today or tomorrow, I think. I've heard some good things about that. Uncharted has never let me down before. Uncharted 3, I feel like when Uncharted 3 was at its worst, it was the least fun I've had in the series. But even Uncharted 3 was a really good game, so I feel like there's a very low risk of me having a bad time with this latest Uncharted installment. So I'm definitely going to get involved with that. I've missed like the upload deadline for that kind of thing, so I'm not going to bother with it. I'm not going to break up the Final Fantasy XII playlist for now. I'll get to that at some point. My Uncharted stuff never does too great anyway, so I don't really mind. It's just going to be an excuse for me to actually play the game. So that'll be the next thing I do. And then depending on how things go, I might do one more non-Final Fantasy title to keep the non-Final Fantasy fans of the channel happy. There's still things I need to play. I don't know. I'm trying to think. BioShock 2, I've been waiting to complete that for years. I think it's been 3 years now that I've been waiting to do that. I still haven't managed to, so BioShock 2 might be a good option. I don't know. I mean, a lot of people ask me to play Life is Strange. I think now the second season of that is coming out or something. Maybe I can get involved with that. I don't know. Yeah, so we'll have to see. And once that is done, so by now, I mean, we're talking like end of the year, New Year type thing. Then I will move on to Final Fantasy XIII 2, I think. Because people have been waiting for Final Fantasy XIII 2 for a long time. Final Fantasy XIII did pretty well, unexpectedly well. Because a lot of people didn't really like Final Fantasy XIII. But I'm definitely going to continue with that. I do want to have the whole trilogy, even though I enjoyed Final Fantasy XIII 2 less than I enjoyed 13. And 13-3 even less than the other two. But still, just to have a complete playlist, and I think a lot of people want me to play it, so I think I'll probably move on to Final Fantasy XIII 2. And that will mean that of the, well, when I say modern, I say like in inverted commas, I'm talking about everything after Final Fantasy VII, so everything from the PlayStation era onwards. That only leaves Final Fantasy VIII left to do. I don't count 7 because that's getting a remake, so I'll just do the remake instead of the PS1 version. So all that will leave is Final Fantasy VIII, Final Fantasy XIII 2, and Final Fantasy XIII 3, and then I will have them all after 7 on the channel. So yeah, in the coming 6 months to a year, hopefully, there won't be too many more Final Fantasies left. I don't know what we're going to do once we've done all the Final Fantasies. Then I'll probably have to start going back even further to like Final Fantasy 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We'll have to see. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. In terms of streaming, depending on how I feel, maybe I'll stream some more of the Crash Insane trilogy. But like I said, because my priority is on finishing this giant Final Fantasy XII playlist, I might not get too much time to stream. But I'll still be trying to do that regardless. So I'll let you guys know on Twitter and stuff. If you're not following me on Twitter, make sure you do, at Dansg08. And I will be sure to make any announcements of streams on there so you guys won't miss it. Okay, so that's the YouTube side of things pretty much over. Let me talk more about personal life and career stuff, what I've been doing most recently, and some stuff that you guys might be interested in if you're a fan of the kind of things I'm up to outside of YouTube as well. So you guys will all know, I mentioned it in Hangouts and I shared the video and all that kind of thing. I made a documentary about a blind video game fan, and that did pretty well. It won some festival awards, it got exposure on places like Kotaku and that kind of thing. It did pretty well, so that's something that I was really happy about. It started off as like a little, solo project that I wanted to do for the channel, and it grew into something a little bit bigger than that, which made me really happy. It was a great venture into the world of documentary filmmaking. I'd never made one before, so all in all, it was a really cool experience, and everything that followed it has been really, really fun as well. So something that you guys might not know, because it was something I was going to do a hangout near the time, but I was just too busy, so I didn't get a chance. In relation to this documentary I made, there was a gaming channel that reached out to me, a TV channel called Jinx TV, and they asked if they could like bring me onto a show so they could interview me about the documentary, and I accepted. So I went off to London. I was going to go to London to see my family anyway, and while I was there I had a little TV interview, which was really cool. It was the first time I've ever been interviewed in my life, so and it was on live TV as well, so that made it extra kind of nerve-wracking but also really cool afterwards as well. So I'll share a link in the description if you guys want to watch that interview. It's an unlisted video. I didn't want to make it public in case, you know, the TV channel had an issue with it or something like that. So it's unlisted, but I didn't get a chance to properly kind of announce that I did something like this on the channel. So if you guys are interested in checking that out, it's in the description. You can listen to me get interviewed about the documentary. Once that documentary stuff was over, I got stuck into Final Fantasy XII, but after that I was off to Turkey to work on a web series. So I'll try to not extend the story too much because I could talk about this for like an hour and a half just on its own. But basically I work for a production company in Turkey with my uncle. We work together, and it's always been a dream of ours to kind of try to escape the world of commercial filmmaking, like making TV commercials and that kind of thing. We've always wanted to kind of do our own thing, to write our own projects, you know, more narrative work. So it could be a web series, it could be short films, it could be, you know, proper films, whatever they are. We want to just try and venture into that world and really get stuck into some more narrative filmmaking. And that's something that we've been trying to do for a long time, and we hadn't really gotten a break yet, because that kind of stuff, it usually requires funding, it requires support, it requires sponsorship, that kind of thing. And the projects that we'd designed up until this point, we just hadn't been able to find the support for it. But we came to a decision earlier this year to kind of write our own thing, to make it ourselves, you know, not need any outside funding, just write something that we could shoot ourselves with our own friends from the industry without needing like a big, you know, sum of money to do it and that kind of thing. So we designed a web series that we were planning to shoot with. We have some friends out in Ankara, the capital city of Turkey. These guys are part of the Turkish hip-hop movement, and these guys have been friends of ours for a few years. And in Turkey there's yet to be like a project, like a film project, a web series, something like that, that features hip-hop in a big way. So it could be, you know, in the soundtrack, it could be in the acting, it could be in the storyline, that kind of thing. And these guys have a pretty big following. So they're not household names, but they still have a really big following on YouTube and that kind of thing. So we thought if we could design a project with these guys, make something together, we'd be able to get the numbers in that we need in terms of views to get people interested in what we were doing, and it would also be a way for us to do something that hasn't been done before in the industry. So we sat down, you know, we wrote a script. It was like a 25-30 minute pilot episode for this web series that we wanted to do. And as time went on, the project started to gain momentum. We got some support, both from the hip-hop industry out in Ankara. There was a lot of people that wanted to be a part of it. They were willing to, you know, give us help in order to make this thing happen. We also had friends from the Istanbul side of the industry that were willing to come down, and some of them agreed to come for, like, you know, half the money that they'd normally come for, because these guys are professional filmmakers, so you can't just say, yeah, just come for 2 weeks, you know, without getting paid at all. These guys, you know, they've got families to feed, so they need to be paid in some way. But they were willing to help us out. So the project started to gain momentum, and we were feeling like, okay, yes, this is going to happen. And it was going to be the first time that I ever wrote and directed something that was narrative. I mean, I've directed the documentary, I've directed some TV commercials, but I've never really directed a story before. And obviously, if you guys know me, I love a good story. That's my whole thing, and that's the reason I wanted to become a filmmaker, was to tell stories. So it was going to be a huge opportunity for me. And the way we designed it was that after the first week of August, we would leave for Ankara. We'd spend about 2 weeks out there just getting everything together, like pre-production side. And then in the last like week of August, we were going to shoot. So we had a 6 or 7 day shoot, and we were going to shoot the first episode of this web series. So that's why I needed to stop work on Final Fantasy XII after the first week, because we were getting stuck into that. You know, it's full on, it's full time, and I had absolutely no time to do any YouTube related stuff. So I spent the last 2 weeks or so out in Ankara, but today is August the 22nd, and I'm back in Istanbul, unfortunately. And that basically means that things didn't go quite so well, and we didn't actually get to film this thing. As for why we couldn't do it, it's a very long story. Like I said, that's the whole... I could have shot a documentary about everything we went through out there, and it probably would have been worth watching. But long story short, things happened there that were out of our control. Certain promises were made, certain people didn't come through with certain promises, and you know, filmmaking, especially at this level, is not cheap. It's not something that you can do for like $500, $1,000, $2,000. You know, it's not that kind of thing. If you want to make something quality, you want to have you know, professional people working with you. You want to make something that's really gonna, you know, shake things up. You do need some money to do it, and the money was coming out of our own pockets because, you know, we'd had enough of trying to get financial help from others, because people just are unwilling to part with money for people that they don't know, because we hadn't created a project like this before. It's extremely difficult to get funding and support for these kind of things. So we were going to do our own thing, but then obviously when there's that much money on the line, you know, it got to a stage where it was just too big a risk to try and shoot this thing, because there was a very real risk of us not being able to complete it, and that would have been the worst option, where we would have spent our money, you know, we'd be in a lot more debt than we were before, and we'd have nothing to show for it. So that risk was starting to become very real, so we had to cut our losses and return back and live to fight another day. So that didn't work out, unfortunately. The project is still alive. We still have some plans for it, but in terms of like getting it done this summer, shooting the pilot episode this summer, that kind of thing, that has unfortunately not happened. So that was my little adventure in Ankara. That's why I couldn't continue Final Fantasy XII. But now I'm back in Istanbul. I'm going to give myself a little bit of time to kind of clear my head, because it was an extremely stressful last 2 weeks. I need a little bit of time to pull myself together mentally and get ready for the battles ahead. And I think probably start of September I'll be back on board and probably starting to upload Final Fantasy XII again. So I might record some more Final Fantasy XII, because I've been enjoying myself. It'd be a way to let off some steam. But in terms of sitting down to do some hardcore editing and, you know, uploading all that stuff, I'm not really ready for that kind of tempo. I need a little bit of a breather before I start to get going again. Because once Final Fantasy XII resumes, again, it's going to be back to YouTubing whenever I have time to do it. So it'll be back to hopefully the old schedule of, you know, at least at the very minimum, like 3-4 videos a week. So that's what will be happening in terms of that. But one of the things I love about this industry is that it's so unpredictable. It's both the best quality and the worst quality. You never know what is going to happen tomorrow. So while I was kind of messing around with this whole thing, the whole web series thing, things aren't going well, I got an email. And this email was to do with the documentary that I shot like at the start of the year, the one that I've been telling you guys about. And this email was regarding a TV network that is exclusively for gaming content, and these guys were interested in buying the rights to the documentary. So basically they wanted to buy the rights so they could distribute it to like TV and internet platforms all over the world. So that was a huge bit of news, because that, you know, as a filmmaker is your ultimate goal, you know, especially financially and CV wise. I mean, everything you make, you pretty much need to sell it if you want it to reach the maximum audience, and if you want to continue working as a filmmaker, because, you know, uploading it to YouTube, getting 100,000 views, that doesn't cover any of your costs. I mean, I totally made that a loss. All of it was spent out of my own pocket, all of the festival entrance fees, you know, all the money that I spent during shooting, all that kind of thing, that all came out of my own pocket, and I haven't really gotten a penny back. I mean, the money that I've gotten from uploading onto YouTube doesn't even cover my petrol costs going to and from Toby's house. So the fact that you get to sell it, that's how you can continue working as a filmmaker. Otherwise it's just a hobby. So this was a huge thing for me. But the guys said that the current documentary in its current state is too short. It's only 15 minutes and they wanted a 22-minute cut. So I looked back at the old footage and there's not enough there for 22 minutes. So we sat down to negotiate like an extra little bit of a fee so that I could go back and shoot some more. So I'd need to fly back out to the UK, I'd need to meet with Toby again, get some additional footage, re-edit that footage, all that kind of thing. So we're in the process of trying to negotiate something like that. But if we do manage to make this thing happen, then that will mean that I need to go back to the UK at the end of September to shoot the remainder of this documentary, to extend it out to 22 minutes. And once that process is done, I'll have to mess around a little bit with the editing and all that kind of stuff. And hopefully, by the end of it, it will mean that I can sell it to these guys and then end up having it be distributed worldwide. So that is a really exciting thing. Hopefully, we manage to sort things out, to figure things out, so I can go ahead and do that. And that will leave the door open for me to hopefully make more documentaries in the future. So if you guys have any good documentary ideas, especially in the world of video games, do let me know. Share it with me. And if it sounds cool, then maybe I'll get you guys on board as well, and we'll go make some documentary films together. So as they say, there's a silver lining in every cloud. Even though this web series thing hasn't worked out for now, you know, it tired us out a lot, psychologically and physically, and we're very kind of we were very dejected coming back. You know, everyone was really just not feeling it on the way back. But this whole documentary thing, this potential you know, sale acquisition thing has made me a lot happier and a lot more motivated to continue working hard, because the thing with our industry is you just have to keep on creating. You have to keep on making something. The more you make stuff, the more that you put out there, the more content you create, the more opportunities you open for yourself. So that's my goal. I just want to, as a filmmaker, just want to keep making new things, you know, keep putting myself out there, keep expanding my possibilities and seeing where the road takes me. So that's that, guys. That's the whole documentary, web series, documentary reshoot, all that kind of business. That's the kind of stuff I'll be busy with in the coming weeks, coming months, in terms of my own life, my own career. And finally, slowly but surely, I'm starting to see the 100,000 subscribers out in the horizon. So I'm somewhere like 93,500 or something like that, and the numbers are creeping up. And hopefully, if I keep working hard at it, I would say probably in the next year or so, I will reach the magic 100,000. That's something that I've kind of, when I first learned about the YouTube plaque thing, like the play buttons that they give you for certain milestones, I think it was maybe like 4 years ago, 5 years ago, I remember seeing that, and I'm a big fan of symbols. I just love symbolic stuff, and the fact that YouTube gives you like a play button to symbolize, you know, as a physical symbol of all the effort that you've put in. I mean, for me, it's been a grind. There's channels that start up and within 6 months they got 100,000 followers. Maybe for them it's not such a big deal. So for me, this is a road that started in 2008 and continued in a more serious way in 2012. It's been a huge grind for me. I mean, 1,700 videos now for me, and every single one of these videos has been recorded and edited and uploaded all by me. I mean, a lot of people, they don't edit videos, they just record like a 4-hour session, they split them up into chunks and just upload it straight away. I have watched every single second of everything I've ever recorded. You know, it's taken me a long time to do. I don't regret any of it. I've had an absolutely incredible time with YouTube, the opportunities that it's given me, even with this whole, like I said, like I mentioned in my 9-year anniversary video, the fact that it pretty much paved the way for me to make this documentary, a documentary which is now doing well, which I now have the potential of actually selling to like a TV network. All of this has come from me starting up a YouTube channel all those years ago, and to be able to reach 100,000 subs and to be given, like, you know, a physical symbol of this from YouTube, something to signify all of the work that you put into it, is going to be really cool. So I'm really starting to become excited by the prospect of reaching 100k one day, because even a few years ago when I was maybe in like the 30s, 40s, 50s, I thought to myself, yeah, I'm probably not even going to be doing YouTube by the time I get near 100, so, you know, there's no point getting too excited about it. But it's almost here. I can almost like see a glint of light at the end of the tunnel. So once I get to 100k, I think that's the last milestone I'm ever going to hit, because the channel, I mean, its progress is clear. It's never gonna become one of those channels that's gonna have millions of followers, because I'm the same guy. You know, I've not changed. I'm the same guy I was 5 years ago. I upload the same kind of content I did 5 years ago. You know, I've never really done anything specifically dedicated to gaining more subs. I just upload, I just do my thing. My only criteria, as I've always mentioned, has been to try to get the games on time, so that when I do want to upload something, I'm able to upload it when the game is released. That's always been my only goal. I've not really done anything different, purely with the intention of growing the channel. So for that reason, I think the channel, you know, if it's taken me 9 years to get to 100,000, it'll probably take me, I don't know, another 5 years to get to 200,000, and then 5 years to 300,000. So I don't think I'm ever going to get to 1 million unless some drastic things happen. I don't know, maybe I'll be like 85 and still alive somehow, and my YouTube channel still exists, and I'll be this elderly guy saying, oh, I've made it to 1 million subscribers, yeah. But, you know, at this point, I think 100k is going to be like, you know, my first and my final milestone. So I don't know, maybe I'll retire after 100k, who knows. But yeah, I'll close it off with, if anyone's interested in any Q&A, I haven't done any Q&A for quite some time. If you've got anything you want to ask me about the whole YouTubing thing, about my career, about the filmmaking world, anything you would like, Do let me know in the comments, and I'll save those up for when I do another hangout, maybe like in a month, a couple of months, and I'll try to rattle through those for you, because it's been a little while since I did anything like that. Okay guys, thanks for watching. I hope this answered some questions about what's been going on and what to expect for the channel. Thank you for sticking around. You guys, especially you guys that watch the hangouts, you guys are my extra special subscribers, because not too many watch the hangouts, but for those of you guys that do, I'm always very appreciative. Hope you guys continue to stick around and support the channel, and I will do my best to continue doing my thing the only way I know how. So thanks for watching, take care, I will see you soon.